Well, we were talking in the room right before we started here, and we have a remarkable number of things that overlap, which is good because I think that makes that a trend as opposed to sort of a niche kind of thing, which is good. So we all agreed not to take all of the trends to ourselves. Well, so I'll pitch one thing. First one, if you guys went to Web 2.0 or heard of Mary Meeker, she's an analyst. She was an analyst with Kleiner Perkins now, or with Morgan Stanley. Now she's with Kleiner Perkins. I really recommend you look. And you Google her current internet technology trends that are out there, and it's just phenomenal stuff if you get a chance to take a look at that. And so all kinds of stuff in there, and these guys are going to talk about a lot of it. But one of the things that I think is a really interesting trend is data. Data has become so cheap, it's just prolific. The ability to collect data, retrieve data, store data, all of this stuff has really changed the way that we actually look at how we look at the industry. So all of the things around personalization, our ability to connect with customers, all of that kind of stuff. So if you look at the world, 10 years ago, it was all about RDBMSs, and everything had to go into a transactional data store, and now it's completely changed. All the NoSQL stuff, the open source stuff with Cassandra and MongoDB, and all of those kind of things. It really made it possible for us to push out an incredible amount of data and then leverage it in our business and work, particularly in the media industry, as we're trying to connect with all of the content that we actually have. So that's one that I think is really interesting for both managers and for technologists and engineers in general. Make sure you understand that it's no longer a one-stop shop for how you actually leverage data.
So talking about 10 years ago, I remember when I first started, came out running my own company and went to work at IBM, and I had this brand new shiny ThinkPad. It was really cool. And 10 years ago, work is where you went to use the latest and greatest technology. And now, work is where you come to use really old technology. And so a couple of us are going to talk about the consumerization of IT, whether it be mobility. I'll talk about from a slightly different perspective. And there are a lot of things where, like, a lot of people thinking about withdrawing to a line to the data center and giving everyone their advice. But there's also a change in user expectations. Especially in our industry, we build a lot of custom software. And a lot of that is an engineering practice. We're doing a lot of open source development, but still building front ends and UIs, and there's work involved in getting users to lock down what they want and building it. And the understanding of why can't it just do what I do on Google or Facebook or whatever is really getting thin. So for us, there's been a whole change and it's good because now we get to do some really cool things around UIs that it was hard to justify before for our clients, but the expectation from our users is really, really changing. That's one of the reasons actually we're doing a lot of software as a service too, because we're out of that conversation. In our industry, and I'm sure it's probably, we'll build $1 million application for 4 users, and then that person leaves and we'll rebuild it for the next set of users. Because they're VIPs and they get what they want and there's a lot of dollar value going on for what they're doing. When we're moving into more of a software as a service model, my conversation, like I support our HR systems and we're using Workday instead of SAP, even though we owned SAP. And it's a great conversation because my HR users say, well, we work this way and we'd like it to do this. In the past, we would have customized that. Now I turn to Workday and I go, well, so does it do that? And they go, nope, release next year. And I turn back to my users and I say, well, is that going to work for you? And they don't really have a choice. They say, well, I guess we'll have to wait. So there's kind of those two trends. One is changing the nature of our conversations, but also the user expectation is really high. So it's something that we've had to adapt to, because one of our biggest metrics is customer satisfaction. So if we continue to make our users use old technology, on our balanced scorecard, customer satisfaction is not going to be very high. So that's one impact for us.
I often get stuck with like mobile with these things. So I guess all of us, or most of us, have smartphones and things like that, and obviously mobile is a huge trend. But I think really what underscores, or what you see with mobile devices, what underscores that is the emerging diversity of platforms that have really come to the forefront now. And whether it's on the device, as a client, or in this sort of new app economy, going all the way to server-side technologies, there's really just enormous diversity, and whether that shakes out or not, we'll certainly see in the next coming years. But I think 2011 is going to really impact all of us.
Yeah, just riffing on what you said and what David said about user expectations, I think the appification of user expectations is very, very real. And all IT, in many ways, enterprise IT, and in all the years I've done it, enterprise IT has been sort of trained to spend a lot of money and take a lot of time. And we add kind of bloat and a lot of crap to everything we do. And no, I mean, it's like we will, everything from the way we justify a project all the way through to, picking frameworks and dealing with vendors and consultants and that kind of thing. So we, in the world where all the people that you work with, all the customers that you serve are picking up apps for $1.99, and you walk in with an ROI for $1 million for a similar app, this has changed everything in terms of how we think about it. So the biggest trend I think I'm seeing is an absolute total impatience with anything that takes too long. And by too long, I'm now measuring it in weeks. And so the question is, can you, as a technologist, devise a strategy for, that says, I'm going to deliver apps in 2 weeks. I'm going to figure out what I have to delete or what I have to cut to deliver the app in 2 weeks. And I knew, so we came up with this idea of 10 days. We called it 10 days, $10,000. No app was going to cost more than $10,000 and take more than 10 days. So we sent one of our guys to the Gartner conference, and he was talking to the Gartner analysts, and he said, we're going to do 10 days, $10,000. And he said, they laughed me out of the room. And I said, now I know we're on the right track. The Gartner analysts don't believe you. So that's really what it's coming down to. So for me, that trend is really, really strong right now. So.